Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today's video is going to be up against none other than Math is Might, one of 501's strongest and definitely a nemesis of mine on the ladder, and in tournaments I have not the best of win rates against them as of late, so I was kind of keen to try and get a matchup and maybe get some revenge. Whether we'll manage, we'll have to see. I decided to start with Amplify Specialist and some arc lights. I was quite keen to try and play some standard here, as I know Math is Might does like it, and well, it seems like we will get a long-range matchup. Double Sledgehammer for him as well. He starts with the Fangs and he goes for double Marksman, which is something I was expecting. Now, here I have two options. Either I can go for Marksman myself, which would be a fine choice to make, or I can go for Chaff and maybe try to play for something like a Phoenix on round 2 or something of the sort. My idea was to go for the second thing. I do have an amplifying core available, or a small amplifying core I should say, which if put on a Phoenix allows them to one-shot sledgehammers, so that sounded like a good idea to me, so I decided to go for double crawler here. I am going to kind of stack them on the right side, since the left does have that big cannon plus the wall, so it's a lot harder to push into, and while you can see Math is Might really did stack his units quite heavily. I'm pushing into the middle. Hopefully I can avoid this guy for as much as possible. It's unlikely that I win here. I just don't really have any DPS to try and kill those sledgehammers, but you know, that's fine. I decided to go for the chaff setup, which I'm going to need anyway, and hopefully just kind of soften the blow here. We do manage to take down one of the marksmen already, which is not too bad. We take down a couple of sledgehammers, so honestly, a decent first round, I'd say. Maybe I should have gone marksman as well, but I didn't really want to get pulled into like a full mirror, because at that point we'd both be playing chaff plus sledgehammer plus marksman, which can get a bit tricky. Typically, I prefer trying to go for differing lines, just so that I have a little bit more wriggle room, and it's just not all about getting those levels and getting those techs ahead of your opponent. Round number 2. Missile Strike does show up. There is a good target to hit here. I could soften up sledgehammers. Maybe I could hit both, although I don't think I could hit... I doubt I'd be able to hit both of the marksmen here, but it could be worth a try. But I was thinking, well, it's round number 2, and I would really like to get 2 200 cost units, specifically 2 Stormcallers, and I need 450 to be able to afford that. So I decided to skip, not go for that missile, and I go for double Storm. I know I said I wanted to get Phoenix, but I kind of get pulled into this differing line because I saw the Fangs and the Sledgehammers and I thought to myself, well, that's a pretty slow-moving army, and I don't mind playing Stormcallers into that. It's also quite unlikely my opponent would go for something like a Phoenix here because they already have Marksman on board, so I felt like this was a relatively safe play. Of course, there is the Missile Strike, so you will see me trying to position those Stormcallers kind of far apart away from this crawler, which is what I was expecting Math to aim for. He does go for it. Takes out one Stormcaller, but I think I'm okay with that. Double crawler on his side of the board, another marksman as well, which is pushing into that left side. Looks a little bit scary. Doesn't look like any of my units really are interested in trying to take that down, so it might end up farming a lot of my units, especially as they get pulled into the right side of that board. So nice marksman position there. Definitely punishes me. Double Stormcaller though, still doing a good job here of damaging and cleaning up the sledgehammers, and it looks like, you know, we should be able to get away with maybe a tie or something close to that. Arclight's still doing a great job too. Sledgehammers making sure that the marksmen don't have too easy of a job, and we might even get away with a win after all. Stormcallers are kind of trolling here, not being able to hit the sledgehammers too well and getting stuck on Fangs, but eventually we will be able to win, if only by a few units. That leads us to round number 3, where we see unit reinforcements take the stage. Mustang seems the safest here, as there is a wasp offered. Fire Badger, I guess, would be another option. I could potentially throw that on this flank. My opponent is being a bit greedy with the crawler and the Mustang positioning now as well, as it doesn't leave much room for a unit to tank the Fire Badgers if I were to go for it. But I decided to go for the Mustang because I did want to get some anti-air. And, well, I just kind of parked that idea of the flank for later. Perhaps we would see another Fire Badger drop in the future, and then I would definitely be happy to try and put something there. Now, round number 3, nothing too special here. I just decided to go for a third Stormcaller to try and match that left side. And, I mean, that's pretty much all I do. Double Fang as well, because I was a bit worried my opponent might try to missile my Sledgehammer here, so I want to protect against that. And that's pretty much the turn. I do put the small amp core onto one of my Mustangs. As you can see, we go symmetrical. Eventually, I might have to range those, but for now, I will just leave them unranged. I also would like to range my arc lights in this scenario, especially after seeing those Mustang. It seems like a good idea. So, lots of things that I need to sort out. And, well, let's just see how the rounds go up to now. Another arc light here on the left would also be nice, as we now have some crawlers that are arriving from there. An opponent already goes for a mobile beacon crawler to distract some of my Stormcallers. Important here not to tech the Stormcallers. They're just fine without any techs on them, and maybe I can bait out something like a missile interceptor at some point. Seems like left side is doing just fine. Mustangs able to clean up those crawlers without too much issues. And on the right side, you can see how much the enemy army is clumping up, which is making it very easy for my arc lights to get some value out of their splash, and the Stormcallers as well to get a lot of value from their volleys. We even managed to push in on the left side, which looks like will lead to a debuff. I don't think it'll matter too much though, as we were crushing on the right side too. So, lovely round there. Quite a fair amount of damage being pushed, and that puts math down to 3.2k in round 4. Here we see additional deployment slot, definitely the best card to pick up. Heavy armor wouldn't have been bad, but I don't have any items right now. Item slots available on my Sledgehammers because I'm an Amplify specialist. I do pick up the level on the Sledgehammer here. It is important to do against these type of boards with, you know, kind of semi-low level marksman, chaff, Mustang, just not a lot of DPS to take care of Sledgehammers efficiently, and that's where those levels really shine. Round number 4, I decide to get range on my arc lights. If you've seen any of my tips when I'm live, I often do say that you should try and get range on your chaff clear unit by round 4 if you can. And so this is no different. Range on the arc lights on round number 4 for us as the very first tech that we pick up. And I wasn't too afraid here of anything. Stormcallers are very good against, you know, some of the bigger units that may show up. One of them does show up as my opponent now goes into Vulcan. And it looks like we will end up in, or well, against VULCAN Marksman. Probably the most iconic comp for long-range fights. And that means, what on earth do I want to play? Because VULCAN Marksman is very proven, very powerful scaling comp. What can you do against it? Well, Stormcallers can be one answer. Especially when paired up with arc lights, which we already have, and then something like Worm. So that was an initial idea. The other would be something like Siege Mode Scorpion. However, it's more difficult to get into, so I might want a unit drop if I want to try and go for that line. For the time being, though, we're doing very well on that left side. Stormcallers will be able to take down that newly placed Vulcan. Right side is also winning. I did get oiled. Luckily, it didn't do too much this round, but I imagine you will try and light that on fire the next. Now, round number 5, we do actually see the Scorpion showing up. There it is. And I almost immediately, I think, will pick it up. I think about Wasp very briefly, but both of us have Mustang, so it should be completely fine. And yeah, there we go. Siege mode has been picked up. And it will get clicked. Ideally, I will go for Acid as well in the long term, but it's a bit too expensive for the time being. So I'll just have to make do with 2 Scorpions with Siege mode. Opponent does go for the Missile Interceptor on their Mustang. And they also get range on not just the Vulcans, but also the Marksmen. So a heavy, heavy tech round. And that could be quite rough. Also, I get missiled this turn. Of course, the oil will likely get lit on fire. I try to kind of salvage the play by using my own oil, trying to connect it. Hopefully killing as much chaff of theirs as possible, but I wasn't expecting to win this. If I can through the Siege Mode Scorpions, that would be amazing. But, you know, there's not much here for me to be done. I am selling out of my sledgehammers, as you can see, kind of repurposing the items, as the low-level sledgehammers will simply get chewed up by those Vulcans and feed a bunch of experience. Better to reinvest that money elsewhere. And yeah, we lose a Stormcaller here, not ideal. It did do a lot on the left side to kill that Vulcan last round. And let's see, lucky for us, we do manage to connect the two fires, and it's not doing a bad job at all. Seems like my sledgehammers, though, are getting toast quite quickly, even by those level 1 Vulcans. I guess it's also because of the marksman sitting behind them. Luckily, my Scorpion does manage to lock on, and it will take down a Vulcan, but the right side doesn't seem so lucky. Again, Siege mode, not amazing. You lose 40% attack, so in and of itself, it can struggle against big targets, which is why you need to run that acid attack if you want to go for a play like this. And we lose around there. But hey, we had a lot of hit points, so not too upset about that one. Round number 6, electromagnetic blast, shows up, but I'm not too interested in it. It's round 6. It would only come back on round 11 after we use it, so it would probably be a one-time use. And I wanted to get as much money here as possible. So I decided to go for the Rhino Assault. I was thinking to go for the flank play that I mentioned earlier on this round, which is why I went for the Rhino Assault. But then I thought, well, I probably just want to grab 2 Scorpions and click Acid, and at that point, I don't have much money left. I do have additional deployment slots, but if I'm going to put something there, I would like for it to be at least a level 2 Badger. And right now, I don't have the money to do that. So I delayed the play, and I just go for, I believe, a Rhino, maybe in the back middle, or in the top left, to stall as much chaff as possible. The board is starting to take shape, though, I will say. We have a lot of Siege Mode Scorpions. The only thing that we're lacking is anti-air. And my opponent tries to abuse that fact by going for a singular level 1 Phoenix beaconed across the backline to arrive as late as possible because, well, my Mustangs don't have range and they will likely die. And my Fangs, I mean, I only have 1 for the time being all the way in the back. Rhino here will be able to at least clean up some of the crawlers, though. Sadly, 1 Phoenix turns, so it will eventually go down. Would have been nice if it just followed its brother, as we would have been able to, I think, maybe even get a debuff, which would have been premium. Seems like we're doing well, though, on that right side. The absorption module was picked up, but that gets negated by the acid, and I mean, look at this. Such a difference from the previous round. Sadly, though, while it looks like we're winning the round very heavily, those Phoenixes are going to ruin the party, as I already ran out of anti-air. All of my Fangs have died, and even though we would have been able to win this round with, I mean, that's a ton of damage, right? 1200 damage or so going through, it's not going to be the case, as the Phoenixes will farm up all of the Scorpions and sadly deny me from dealing what would have been, you know, close to being lethal, or at least put math down to a singular shot. So, a good move here for sure, to try and deny me from getting the win, perhaps realizing that my board was stronger and getting a bit of a power spike. And well, now it's up to me to try and get some anti-air. Now, this is the hard part, I guess, when playing Siege Mode Scorp, is most of your anti-air options get outranged, right? Aside from maybe something like Marksman. So the idea was to probably get some Marksman with range, but then I saw additional deployment slot, the second one, because we already have one. And I felt like the best thing to do was probably just, you know, grab a whole bunch of late Fangs, which are always very good in Standard, and then give them range to keep them out of harm's way. They are more than capable of killing something like a Phoenix by themselves. They're also good against things like Wasp, so why not try and rely on them and, you know, try and layer them all the way in the back so they arrive as late as possible, and hopefully after we've killed all those Vulcans. Opponent here picks up more Mustangs still with the interception tech. I mean, I did pick up another Stormcaller, but I don't really care too much. I haven't teched them. I don't mind keeping them around. Those Mustangs will likely end up dying. And as they die, the interception goes away. The Stormcallers are freed up. It also keeps the Mustangs busy, which is quite important because they have to physically shoot. the missiles, and if they're shooting the missiles, they're not shooting at my fangs. Here we grab a couple more extra scorpions, maybe only just the one. Seems like, yeah, only one more. I do go for temp range at this point, and yeah, I was really hoping here that these units would be able to survive. Keep in mind, I am selling my Mustang because at this point the fangs kind of take over. And let's see, Scorpions are getting some good locks by the looks of things. One already down on the left side. On the right, it's also crumbling. This one should end up getting locked eventually. My Arclight, though, does have to clear some of these units. Perhaps it would be nice to grab EMP or Elite on them at some point. But yeah, look at this. Very good job. Sadly, though, the Fangs arriving just a little bit too early. And they get toasted right before those Phoenixes arrive. Quite unfortunate. It really came down to just a split second. We only needed one of those packs to survive to take down the singular untech'd Phoenix pack. And we would have again done so much damage there. But yeah, not meant to be. Perhaps I should have just grabbed some marksmen there. We might be able to replay round number 7 later. And yeah, I mean, this feels really bad, right? I felt like I had countered it, and it came really close, but sadly the Vulcan there, able to take down my remaining Fang pack at the end, and again, were denied about 1200 damage or so from getting through, which definitely would have helped. Okay, we do deal some chip damage as the round timer runs out, but yeah, that's about it. Round number 8, and additional deployment slot shows up yet again. Here, I don't decide to go for it. Instead, I pick up the advanced shield, which my opponent also picks up. And yeah, we are getting to the stage of the game where these type of, you know, very beefy shields become super valuable. And yeah, we don't have to worry too much about big spells. Range has been picked up now on the Mustang. And at this point, I'm thinking, well, what do I want to do about those ultra-late Phoenixes that keep getting beaconed? One alternative could be to just beacon Mustangs myself, or beacon Fangs, go for some Wasps with shields. And I end up going for the idea to grab some Wasps with shields, because I was hoping that the Mustangs would just die too early, and then if the Wasps are out very late, they should be a pain to deal with for my opponent and their marksmen. So yeah, with the additional deployment, we grab 4 of them, we give them the shield tech, we grab a mobile beacon, and we beacon them across the back line to hopefully intercept the enemy Phoenix. Oil is back off cooldown here, will set my board on fire. And I grab some late shields as well to try and protect against the missile strike. Missiles are getting used here on the walls, as it removes a target for the Scorpions to shoot at, hopefully allowing them to lock onto the Vulcan a bit quicker. I do actually lock onto the Vulcan in a way because of the barrier there, extending the hitbox, and look at that. Insta-lock, thanks to the shield. That should help a lot. Oh, I say that, never mind. The Scorpion actually did decide to retarget. So we don't quite get the insta-lock we were hoping for, and it seems like we're struggling a little bit more now with the chaff than we did before. Still, Scorpions eventually should be able to start locking onto the correct units. There we go, acid landing near that Vulcan. And yeah, with a couple lobs coming in, oof, that is satisfying for sure. High-level Vulcan there getting taken out. The late Wasps arriving, but sadly, a couple Mustangs still alive. It's, I guess, where the Arclight not having the techs that are needed really comes back to bite me. And now, I mean, we are cleaning up the marksman slowly but steadily. It seems like we will end up with a win. Siege mode Scorpions, quite tanky as well, so they are able to contest. And this time around, 5 Scorpions left alive. Puts Mathis might down to 331. Again, if one of those earlier rounds, we could have just taken down those Phoenixes, we actually would have already gotten a victory here. And round number 9... unit reinforcements show up. Now, Sandworm looked decent. Definitely one of the other units I was thinking about playing. But I saw the Fire Badgers at level 3, and I thought to myself, well, I mentioned that play earlier on the flanks. And that just seemed so powerful, right? Crawlers on the flank, Mustang near it. I mean, we even have the sticky oil bomb available again. Seems hard to pass. And so that's what we do. We go for the Badger on the flank. We add the oil in the back. And hopefully we'll be able to, you know, light a lot of those units on fire. And then we can even beacon the wasps towards that side where hopefully there won't be any Mustangs anymore and they can really wreak some havoc. Opponent goes for the best partner tech on the Vulcans, spawning 5 extra marksmen. Also goes for double shot on the marksman, which will help getting through the wasps a bit quicker and of course kill my scorpions a bit faster. I do add 2 crawlers in front of the badgers to try and protect them a little bit. Of course, they still have to spawn in, which is quite important. And, I mean, at that point, you know, I don't have too much money left. I still think I really should have picked up something like EMP or Elite Marksman on my arc lights. Turning off the techs on the Vulcan or, you know, just giving them the extra range on the arc lights would have been quite helpful. I should probably also start just selling some Stormcallers here just to get that extra money. Seems like I go for the levels on the Scorpions instead. I would say that's a little bit of an inaccuracy on my end, but I was still quite happy with the way that we were playing here. Looks like the Badgers, though, will end up falling, and I don't quite manage to set that on fire the way I'd hoped to. Perhaps I should have grabbed the scorching, whatever it is, the scorching, like the bomb tech on the Vulcan. Scorching charge, I think it's called. Yeah, that's it. Just to kind of make sure that there would be a pool of fire to ignite this oil. Now, we're kind of struggling here. I mean, those late worms are kind of annoying, although we do one-shot it quite convincingly. But now, sadly, the left side has all of those Mustangs to be able to contest my wasps, and that makes a massive difference in how the round plays out. We actually take a ton of damage here on round number 9. That was not at all what I was hoping for. I thought we had the correct move. It doesn't quite play out. Sadly, the oil doesn't get ignited, and I take so much damage, putting me down to 1300 as we enter round number 10. Here, Intensive Training shows up. The rest of the cards not the best. Extended Range Vulcan, though, perhaps a little bit rude. Definitely a good card for my opponent there showing up. But yeah, now I won't get to light this on fire the way I wanted to. Opponent picks up 2 Hounds with Sprinkler, has the additional deployment slot to kind of use, right, deployments on the Hounds. And here I do shield up again. Not quite sure why. I guess there wasn't a real reason to do that per se, as there was no spell offered, I believe. But it is, you know, advanced shielded devices, so they are quite valuable in terms of how much hit points they provide. Again, we're going to go for this beacon, hoping that this time around I can set that on fire and maybe kill as many Mustangs as possible. Arc lights, we do finally take some levels. We do grab the Elite Marksman, but I don't quite have the money to go for electromagnetic shots. I tried to sell something there, but it doesn't quite seem to be enough to get what I wanted. I do go for the Scorching Charge on my Fire Badgers this round to try and guarantee that some of the fire lands, but maybe I shouldn't have done that and tried to kind of reuse some of the money into a third tech on the Arc Lights. Either way, let's see how this goes. More missile interceptors being put down. That is an awful lot. I think that's probably a bit of a waste of resources at this point. My Stormcallers weren't really doing that much. Most of them already getting intercepted by all of those Mustang. But yeah, lots and lots of range on the Vulcans here. Hopefully, the Scorpions can lock on. I will say that left side did quite well. Despite the sprinklers cleaning up the oil, the Badgers by themselves killed a good portion of the enemy chaff on that side. On the right, though, we still have this worm to deal with, and sadly my Scorpion is not quite aiming at the correct unit. Okay, there it goes, but oh, right when the Scorpion wanted to start shooting at it, it moves, and because it moves, again here, my Scorpion tries to start hitting it, but again it burrows, and that means we will lose the tower. Left side is doing very well, but the debuff is not going to help us whatsoever. It's because there's only a couple Mustangs left. They are enough to kill the remainder of my wasps. And it doesn't look like we're going to be able to win here. The worm's still alive, kind of taunting us there. Burrowing, unburrowing yet again, the way that it did before, dodging scorpion shots. And even though I did manage to get my wasps in, I doubt it'll be enough to get through the enemy. And sadly here, our journey ends, and we lose the game. A little bit frustrating, sadly, as I was quite happy with how I played this. I thought it was an interesting way to answer the classic kind of Vulcan Marksman board. But yeah, I guess we needed to be a little bit more clean there. I think a couple of rounds could have definitely gone our way. Hard to predict what would have happened. The Fangs, of course, could have survived in some scenario and taken down the Phoenix. We didn't need that much more damage. One of the crucial rounds, I guess, was round number 7, where I picked up, I believe, all of the Fangs. Now, I wonder what would have happened here if we went for the Marksman line instead. So let's say that we take over the round here, and we do pick up the additional deployment, and we just grab some Marksmen all the way in the back. I would probably put them all the way over here, start selling some of these Marksmen, and yeah, just give these guys some range. Lone, definitely important. And then I guess we can give this to one of the Scorpions. Some late Fangs are still good to pick up, I would say, regardless of what happens here. And we do have a lot of money available still. Could eventually, I guess, do something about that. I guess here, I mean, I did mention the Arclights and their techs. I think it would have been good to grab one of these techs here. So let's go Elite, so that way we would have kind of freed up the EMP perhaps later on. And then, I mean, I guess we have a level available here. Defense enhancement could have been fine, but I'm not too worried about it. Let's see what would have happened, right, if we went for a Marksman here instead of the Fangs that we picked up. Because we did end up losing this round, sadly, due to the Phoenixes, or it was something like a tie. Acid already locked onto this Vulcan, and I would say that the Arclights are definitely doing better as well with the extra range. Look at that. Vulcan already down. Acid working away at this Vulcan, although it is fighting back for sure with the nano repair kit. Sadly, it is Ignite that blocks that healing effect, but Acid doesn't do it. I think eventually, though, we will manage to get through. Seems to be that way. Although we end up losing. So actually, the Fang play that I did was better than this. So the Marksman play would not have worked out. But what we can do is have a look at round number 9, I believe it was, where we picked up those... yeah, those Fire Badgers from the unit drop. There's a couple things we could have done here. We could go for the Fire Badgers. We could also go for the Worms, naturally. So let's say I do pick these up, but this time I do grab the Scorching Charge. Go for Double Crawler. Try and protect these guys as best we can. And then we layer the oil. I guess I would have to layer it a little bit closer to those Badgers. In case they explode, then that way they do at least ignite the oil. And then aside from that, I mean, there are no spells, so I don't need to shield up. And then we do want to beacon all of these guys all the way over to the left. Again, I didn't have Elite on my Arclights yet. Although levels on the Scorpions would have been nice. I guess I could have sold one of these Stormcallers. They're not the most important thing. I guess this one on the right, maybe, as it is facing one of these Mustangs that should be safe, right? On the left, these might die, which might free up my Stormcallers. So let's grab Elite Marksman. And then let's perhaps grab a couple of levels here on the Scorpions. And maybe just some very late Fangs could help, right? Just a couple more. Layer them all the way in the back. And call it a day. Don't think I have any levels available. I don't. Let's just missile this wall and see how this plays out. Oil does get layered. Now the fire does ignite, killing all of those Mustangs on the left. So that should free up my wasps from to do their job. And also buy some crucial time for my scorpions. Right side, of course, still will be struggling a little bit. Let's see how this plays out. Arclight is a bit stuck. This time around, the worm not quite able to go down. Wasps do get in, but it seems like again here well, I take less damage than I did during the round, so it definitely was a better outcome. But still, we end up losing. So actually quite a tough matchup here. Maybe I should have just gone for the worms myself. I guess that would be... Oh, I should have tried this round again. That would have been the other option, just not getting distracted by the fire badgers and going for the worm play. Now, the worms are kind of low level, and my opponent does have relatively good DPS from his high-level marksman. Does grab the double shot as well, we know this turn. So what do I want to do? Perhaps I simply want to stack my units on one side. Question is, where would that be? Maybe I just want to layer the oil on this side of the map. And then I will sell perhaps one of the storm callers here. And just try and stack all of these worms as best I can. I will take a loan here. I will take temp range. And then what else do we want? I think armor enhancement might actually be more useful. And we do have the money to grab 2 more worms if we so desire, which I think is something I do want. And then I guess I'm simply going to put both of these dudes, the high level ones, in front and try and attack the tower. Let's see how that goes. It is another play. It is a bit slower. It doesn't use all of my deployments, but it's an awful lot of beefiness on that side of the board. And I mean, even if we don't light this on fire, that's honestly maybe an even better situation for us, as it slows down most of the units and perhaps allows for the scorpions to lock onto the worm because the worm doesn't get bothered by all of that. Doesn't really seem to work out that well though on the left, I would say. My worms are getting killed. On the right side, we did manage to take down the worm as well though, and again, the oil slowing down is helping a ton. But yeah, well actually, it seems like we're doing kind of fine. It's somewhat even, but about the same result as what we saw before. And yeah, not ideal. Well, that kind of leaves, I guess, the final round where we could have maybe tried to double tech our arc lights if we wanted. I could try and retake the round from my perspective. Oh, this is not the round that I wanted. Oops. Back to watch replay. Apologies. The final round is what I'm after. Round number 10. I don't know why it's spectating from my opponent's side. Little bit confusing. There we go. Nothing too special this round. I guess, again, we are likely going to have to move these guys somewhere over here. And I guess we can sell a Stormcaller. Temp range is going to be mandatory. How much does it cost me to go for something like this? It's very expensive. It definitely is very expensive. And I do have some levels available on my arc lights as well. Now, ideally, I'd be able to just grab a whole bunch of extra arc lights, which I guess I can do. Just kind of layer them here in the back. Something like this. 1, 2, 3 arc lights. I do have the levels available there as well, so I guess that would be my entire turn. And then, I mean, what do we want to do with these guys? Perhaps just try and kill some units here by Goomba stomping them with the Rhino. Let's see. I'm not sure if this makes a difference. Of course, my opponent did get the extended range Vulcan on the final round, which makes it even harder for my arc lights to get lock-ons, and, well, the marksmen are quite scaled And they do outrange my arc lights a fair bit. Some wasps are coming in to help out. The EMP, though, actually does connect. And keep in mind, EMP also would help from the worms splitting in the larva. Looks like on the left, though, it hasn't really made a difference. The arc light's just not surviving long enough. And yeah, it is just proving to be a little bit too tricky to get through. So seems like it was just doomed in the end. Not much that I can find. All of these options, not quite enough. Sadly, you know, one of those earlier rounds with the Phoenixes bought Math enough time. So yeah, and then from there on, his comp just scaled better, it seems. So GG's. Tough one. Definitely a tough one. I think that any of these plays combined, if I could find some space, you know, could probably win. But I can't string 2 rounds of theory crafting together in this game mode. But I think the key was likely to get EMP and Elite on the arc lights at some point. And yeah, perhaps a play here in the top left, you know, should have been made with that Scorching Charge clicked so that we didn't lose as many hit points as we did. And then we would have maybe been able to buy ourselves an 11th round, which would have been quite crazy. Anyway, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought about it. Have you played a standard game like this before? And what do you think of Siege Mode Scorpion? If you want to stay up to date with latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.